Welcome to this course C# and .NET Programming. In this video, we are going to see how to create inheritance in C#. To start with, the environment I am using is the Visual Studio 2019. So first I am going to show how to create more than one class files inside the same project. And now we have the project and I just right click, create, new, add a class. So this class I am going to add as test. In this created new class I am going to add a main, static, void, main, string, args. Now I am going to write one statement, console dot write line inheritance done. So when we execute it, we are getting some built-in errors. The reason is inside the project we are getting two main. So we need to specify which main to be executed. So to do that, you just right click, go to properties, and here we have the application and you need to tell the startup object. The startup object I want to now run is the test. So we click it and now we will go to the test and run the code. We are getting the test main file is running. This is the way you can manage multiple main functions within the same project. So now we will go with the concept. So first, what is meant by inheritance? Inheritance represents inheriting the properties of base class into the derived class. We know some of the types of inheritance: single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and then hybrid inheritance. And we have another one inheritance called as multiple inheritance. In C# we have two types of inheritance, that is implementation inheritance and interface inheritance. So the first four will comes under the implementation inheritance, and multiple inheritance, that is deriving two base class into a derived class, which is not possible in C#. But this concept can be achieved through the interface. So C# having a next type of inheritance is the interface inheritance. So inheritance means inheriting the properties of base class into derived class. There are two types of inheritance in C#, that is implementation inheritance and interface inheritance. So single inheritance, multi-level, hierarchical, hybrid, they all come under the implementation inheritance. And the multiple inheritance is not supported in C#, so it can be achieved through the interface. So it is called as interface implementation. So to start with the implementation of the single level inheritance, I am going to create a class called as shape. And this class having two data members. One is a shape, which is of string data type, and another one is the integer, which is size. And now I am going to inherit this base class into a derived class. So I am going to create a class called as rectangle. Now to use the inheritance, we are using the operator called as colon. So the base class shape is inherited to the rectangle class. And the rectangle class, now I am going to add two data members. One is length and another one is breadth. As you know already, the data members inside the class are private in nature, so it cannot be accessed outside. So I am trying to make it as public. 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 And now I am going to create an object. So whenever we have inheritance, please remember, try to create object for the derived class. So here my derived class is rect. So rect R1 is equal to new rect. So as you know, whenever you create an object, a constructor will be invoked. Since here we don't define any constructor, it means that defaultly it is invoking the default constructor and initialize the data members to the default values. So we want to see what are the default values assigned. So write line R1 dot shape, and then I add another one variable. This variable is base variable, which is accessed through the derived class object. Since we are using the inheritance property, the base class properties are inherited to the derived class. Then R1 dot length, and this is the data member of the derived class. So now we execute. We are getting R1 dot shape is null. The string will be defaultly initialized to null, so it is an empty. And then length is integer data type, so it is initialized to 0. And now what I am going to do is I am going to overload an empty constructor inside the derived class. So I am going to write a constructor public rect, it is an empty constructor, and I am going to write console dot write line I am derived. And then I am trying to change the values to length is equal to 5 and then breadth is equal to 3. So now I am trying to execute the code once again. So this time what happened? The derived class constructor get initialized, and for the base class the default constructor of base class get executed. So still the shape having an empty value. So now I am going to write a constructor inside the base class also. So public shape, and I am going to write console dot write line I am base, and I am initializing the shape is equal to okay. So now when we invoke the constructor through the derived class object, the derived class constructor get invoked. So now you execute and see the answer. See here the answer is first the base class constructor get invoked, then only the derived class constructor get invoked. So when we create an object for the derived class, the order of execution of the constructor is base class first and then derived class. So like that only your constructor get invoked. Your base class constructor get executed first and then only your derived class constructor get executed. And now what I am going to do is I am going to create a next object. Next object R2. This I am going to pass the length and the breadth 10 and 20. So R2 dot shape. So it will ask me an error since I didn't have a 2 argument constructor. So I am expected to create a 2 argument constructor. I go here, create a 2 argument constructor. So public rect int L int B, and I am going to tell console dot write line I am derived with 2 arguments. And now I am assigning length value to be L and then breadth value to be B. And now I execute. So now when the object is created, it will match with this 2 argument constructor. And what it will do for the base constructor. So just see here. So still I am calling a 2 argument constructor of my derived class. First it will invoke the base class constructor, then only it will execute the derived class constructor. Next, I am going to create a next object, new rect. Through this object, I am going to initialize all my data members. That is the 2 data members from the base class and 2 data members from the derived class. So I am going to give rect followed by the number of side is 4, and then I am going to give the size is 7, 8. Since I don't have a constructor with 4 argument, it is expected that I need to overload the 4 argument constructor. So I am going here to my rect, overload the 4 argument constructor, int, so first one is string s, and then int s1, and then int length, and then int breadth. In this constructor, the first 2 belongs to the base class, the next 2 belongs to the derived class. So I am initializing the same thing. I am trying to keep it here, and instead of 2 argument, it is an 4 argument, and I am initializing length and breadth. Okay. So now, even though you call this thing, still we have the default value rectangle, that is by calling your empty constructor in the base class, and then only it is executing the derived class and initialize the value. So what I want to do now, by invoking the derived class constructor, I need to call the base class constructor and initialize this rect and 4 to the base class constructor. So to initialize the base class members, I have to create a 2 argument constructor in my base class. Shape, string s, and then int s1, and the shape will be assigned to yes, and the sides will be assigned to s1. And I have a 2 argument constructor and I have a 4 argument constructor. So when I create an object for the derived class, the derived class will receive all the 4 argument. It is initializing the derived class members, but this 2 informations of the base class needs to be passed to the base class constructor. So to invoke the base class constructor through your derived class constructor, we need to use the keyword called as base. So through the base, I am trying to pass the first 2 arguments of the base class to the base class constructor. So now what will happen? When the line number 57 get executed, the constructor with 4 argument of the derived class get invoked. So it will come to the line number 39. It will receive all the data members, and without executing the content of the, or before executing the content of the derived class constructor, it identify the keyword base. So it will check with the immediate base class constructor and pass the first 2 arguments there. So it will identify shape is the base class with 2 argument constructor. So the first 2 argument will be assigned to the shape and the side. And after executing the line number 19, 20, 21, and then only it will come to the line number 41 and executing the remaining things. So one of the use of the base keyword is invoking the base class constructor through the derived class. So now I am going to add a method in base class and a method in derived class. So I am going to add big void display which belong to the base class. So console dot write line I am from shape. Same thing, I am going to add a method in my derived class. I am going to use a method name called as display D, that is display in derived class. So I am going to tell I am from rectangle. So now it is ready. Now using the object of the rectangle class, I am trying to access these methods. Since the base class method is defaultly or automatically derived into the derived class, using the derived class object, I can access both the base class method and also I can access the derived class method. So now we run it, we can able to access both the derived class method and also the base class methods. And the next thing, when we create any data members, there are three different access level. One is private. Private members can be accessed only within the class. It cannot be accessed outside. And the next is the public. Public members will be accessed throughout the program. And the next level of access specifier is protected. So I am going to add protected string. I am going to give the thing as color. So I am going to give the color is red. Okay. So this protected members will be accessed only within the derived class. So if I try to access this protected member outside of the class, what will happen? So I am going to put R3 dot. I am going to give the color. So my program will not recognize it since the protection level is inaccessible. But it can be accessed only within the derived class. So I can add it here. Directly I can call the color. So from the base class, the color variable, which is a protected member, it can be accessed inside the derived class. So now you can see here the color is red. So access specifier, private, public, protected. And now we are moving with the next concept, which is called as method overriding. As you know already, method overloading means same function with different signature, both will be available in the same class. Now it is method overriding. What is meant by method overriding? Same function, same signature, but one method is available in the base class, another method is available in the derived class. So I am going to add public void area. It is a method available in the base class. So console dot write line, which is a base area. Now I am going to add the same method that should be added in my derived class. So this is called as method overriding. So I am going to put it as a derived class area. So when I override, I need to tell the base class also have the same method, the derived class also have a same method. So I need to use with the keyword called as new. So when I add the new keyword, it represents the base class method is overridden or hiding the base class method, and the derived class is created as new method. So if I try to access R3 dot area, do you think which area get executed, whether from the derived class or the area method from the base class? We execute and check. So it is executing the area method from the derived class. So since the concept is method overriding, so the base class method get hidden and the derived class method get overridden. There is another way of implementing the method overriding, that is we need to specify a keyword in the base class method called as virtual. And in the derived class, we need to use the keyword called as public override void area. So it means that we are overriding the method available in the base class. So the base class method become virtual and the derived class become overridden. So now also we run the object you create for the derived class, it will be calling only the derived class overridden method. But you may think I want to call the overridden method which is available in the base class also. So what we have to do, we need to use with the keyword called as again base. So base, the method you call it. So it means that first the method available in your base class get executed, then you are invoking the derived class method. So we have seen the usage of the base keyword. The first usage is you want to invoke the base class constructor through the derived class constructor. That time you used to use the base keyword. The next usage is when the method overriding concept is there, you want to invoke the base class method through the derived class. So that also you can use with the base keyword. And now we'll see the next keyword, which is sealed. Okay, so what is the use of sealed keyword? So I want to avoid the class not to be inherited. That time you put a sealed keyword. So if you put a sealed keyword, you cannot inherit that particular base class. So rectangle cannot derive from the sealed type shape. So if you want to avoid inheritance, you put the sealed keyword. There is another usage of the sealed keyword. Suppose I am going to create another one class which is called as triangle, which is inherited from rectangle class. And now I am trying to override the same area method. Okay, same area method. So in this case, I don't want to override a method which is overridden already in some of the class. Okay, so this method is already overridden in the rectangle class. I don't want to override it once again. Then I just put a keyword here called as sealed. It means that I have sealed this method to avoid it cannot be overridden once again. So now you check it. This cannot overridden since it is sealed. So there is two usages of the seal keyword. One is to avoid inheritance and another one is to avoid the method not to be override once again. So I hope this video is useful to understand how to use the implementation inheritance to work with method overriding, creating a constructor and using the base keyword and the usage of the sealed keyword, and to know about the different types of access level, that is private, public and protected. Thank you.